Welcome back, guys. So in our last video we covered variables, and you're probably going to use variables in just about every code you write, but more importantly you're also going to be using functions in just about every code you write. Now Python has some pre-built functions and you can make your own function. One of the pre-built functions that we already know is the print function. Now, all we have to do to call this function is write the parentheses, and in here we can type in anything we want, save it and run it, and the computer is gonna print it out. Now, that's a little boring. What if we want to get user input? Well, Python knows this is probably what programmers are going to want to do, so Python made a built-in function for that. And in here we can just write enter a number. And you can put anything you want in here. It doesn't have to be this, but let's save that and run it. And you can see it's asking us to enter a number. And we can put a number in here, but it's not going to do anything. The only thing we've told it to do is ask you to input a number. But just like you can save values as variables, we're going to save this value that we give it into a variable. So let's say we want to save it as num1. We're going to save whatever number the user gives us into our num1. And just to make sure this works, let's go ahead and print back out num1. Let's see what we get. Save it, run it. Let's say 3 this time, and perfect, it works. Let's stop that and let's add a little bit more functionality to it. So we already got num1, but let's be lazy. Let's copy and paste this. Let's make another number. Let's say we want to get 2 numbers. Num2. Enter another number. And let's add them together. Let's make a little calculator here. Save that and run it. Let's do 6 plus 8. Well, this doesn't look like 6 plus 8. And that is because this is pretty basic. Python, it gets the user input, but it always saves it as a string. And we can't add strings together like they're numbers. It's just going to add them to the back of each other. That's why we got the 6 plus the 8 after it. But another built-in function here is the integer function. Just like these numbers have to be integers or floats, let's just make it easy on ourselves. Let's just do integers. Let's wrap this in the integer function. Let's say whatever is between these 2 parentheses, I want it to be an integer. Let's wrap this bottom one. Let's get rid of this. Now let's try. Stop it, save it, and run it. Let's do 8 plus 9. 17. Now it works. Now we have a pretty basic calculator, but it's a calculator. Did not mean to press that, but we can make our own functions. And all we have to do is type in DEF. Now DEF stands for define. And anytime you write define, it's going to tell Python, hey, I'm creating a function. And it's sort of like creating a variable. And let's just say function1. Now this can be any name, just like these variables can be any name. You don't have to use the names that I use. You can make your own. But we do have to add the parentheses. We do have to tell it, hey, it's a function. And also we have to add this little colon here. Now Python knows this is a function. Python knows you're trying to create it, but right now this doesn't mean anything. You just told it, hey, I want to make a function, and that was it. You didn't tell it anything else. This right here, this is going to tell it, hey, anything after this I want to be in my function. Now this isn't in the function yet because as you see when we hit enter, it gives us a little tab. This lets us know when we're still in the function. So anything I write in here, this is a part of this function. This is instructions for what this function is going to do. But we don't always want to be in that function. So that's why we can just backspace out. Anything that's not in a tab, we're right back out. But let's put all of this code into our function and see what happens. Now, we are going to have to tab these. For some reason, it only did the top one, but we can delete this now. We've got all of this wrapped in our own function. We created a function that's going to do this instruction. If we save it and run it, nothing happens because we haven't called it yet. Just like Python has made the instruction for print parentheses already, it doesn't just print out everything. We have to call it. So let's just call function 1 and end it. 7 plus 6. Now, the reason you might want to do this is, let's say we're going to be using the same code over and over. Let's say we want to add numbers, subtract numbers, and multiply numbers. Well, if we copied and pasted all this, yada, 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 anytime we wanted to add it, we would have to write all of this. Instead, all we have to do now is copy and paste the function. And we can change this name. Let's say we want to change it to addition. So we know that this function is going to be addition. And let's change this. Let's delete all of those. Now it's repetitive. We can do 8 plus 7. We can do 9 plus 4. We can do 2 plus a very large number. And it repeats itself without having to write all of this. So if you have something that's going to happen multiple times, it's easier just to wrap this up in your own function. Now, let's get rid of this, and also let's just copy and paste all of this. And let's change this to subtraction. Now we will have to change the sign, but let's say enter a number and then enter a number to subtract by. Now we can call our addition function and our subtraction function. And when we save this and run it, okay, I'm going to add a number. All right, I'm going to subtract. Now we get fully expandable code. This can be, I mean, you can copy and paste this to do anything. So we can have it multiply. And I'm just going to call this one real fast as an example. But I mean, we've got a fully functioning calculator and it's readable. We know that this is our addition function. It makes it easier. Even though we still have to rewrite the code, when we call it, it makes it easier. And when you've got hundreds of lines of code, you'll be able to go back and see every step that you're doing. It's not just, you know, this right here. You know, if you had to go back and look at all this, man, this is really a pain to read. And if you have a bug in your code, if it doesn't work, the debugger is just going to tell you what line the bug is in. You're going to have to scroll through hundreds of lines of code and read all of this and wonder, man, what is all this doing again? But if I have define subtraction and it says, hey, you've got a bug in your subtraction function, I just have to go find this. So this wraps up our function class, and there's a little bit more to this that I'll cover in a part 2, but this is all you really need to know to get started coding. I mean, with this, you can already build a lot, but I'll see y'all in the next video. Go ahead and practice these functions. You know, make little projects, make a calculator that works for you, that how you want to make it. And you don't have to use these. You can use whatever you want. But I hope this demonstration really helped y'all, and I will see y'all in the next video.